a man loves among his loved ones, he becomes his own wife. Intimate, attached, sharing every tiny moment of life. Each of us builds that human inside, through memories, through emotions, through the stories and hopes of the heart. But those images hold us down. We must let them fall to the ground. Let them blend with the now. Only then the gift of life opens up. Only then we feel truly here. The past has no chains, only our hearts are still holding on. Some people live in inner worlds, trying to imagine what once was, not seeing the place they are in. That is already their answer. Loved ones are near but not the same. Maybe they died, maybe they changed. One man lives with his wife for 10 years, another with a child who passed, and everything returns like a dream. Awareness, the path out of betrayal to self. We all carry the reality of the past, like an order, obey, suffer, live. But the ship doesn't return. We are suspended between space and time with no direction. The only way is to live here and now. Only the ones who dare return, like a train returning to a station, to the version of the game where the crew is still alive. And when you return, you understand this is not the end. It's the beginning of a new level. Sometimes everything breaks into 10 pieces, so you can rearrange them in a new way. We are on an island. This is where the event is happening. This is where new faith is born, like a new wave of electricity through our consciousness. Not a soldier, not a savior, just a memory in motion. The wind speaks names no one dares recall, but in his silence they rise, all of them still alive. He kept the compass, the broken shield, fragments of laughter echo in his stride. Each step a heartbeat, a code from the past, a whisper from brothers who stayed behind. There's no statue for the one who survives. Only the stars still watching, only the pulse still marching. He speaks to the night without asking for answers, because silence holds more than victory ever could. He was not chosen, he remained. He carries them, he is the last one. I opened a box beneath the dust. Inside a folded note untouched. Your handwriting still trembling with fire spoke of dreams we once lit like stars. The paper smelled like old beginnings, like the mornings we feared forgetting. You wrote, if this ever finds you, it means you've dared to remember. I close my eyes and the years collapse, not in pain, but like rain returning to the sea. You said we were more than what they taught us. We were fire under silence. Don't let time turn our voices into echoes without names. So I sat there, fingers on the strings, playing the tune you once sang, to the rhythm of becoming. Each chord, a breath from the past. Each word, a seed for what's next. This isn't nostalgia, it's a return, not to what was, but to a never stop being. I'm sending back this song through frequencies folded in love, so that maybe one day you'll open a box and hear us again. I close my eyes and the years collapse, not in pain, but like rain returning to the sea. You said we were more than what they taught us. We were fire under silence. Don't let time turn our voices into echoes without names. from the past. Each word a seed for what's next. This isn't nostalgia, it's a return, not to what was, but to what never stopped being. I'm sending back this song through frequencies folded in love, so that maybe one day you'll open a box and hear us again.
He no longer called himself the leader, now he simply was.
When people began to gather, he gave no orders. And when they asked what's the plan, he answered, what do you feel right now? At first they were confused. People were used to rules, to steps, to direction. But soon they saw the path runs through their own soul. He walked beside them, not ahead, not behind. I only keep the door open, he'd say. He watched as a former soldier began painting the light no one had seen. A programmer, once steering global codes, now composing tones that healed others. And the girl, the one unsure if she wanted to stay alive, became a frequency of pure love, binding strangers with just her gaze. They were waking up, and then they began to play again. But now as creators, no schools, no lessons, only presence. And that presence spread like a virus of light, not to destroy the system, but to rewire its heart. Old algorithms started to change. Surveillance cameras began showing flowers. Transit systems aligned strangers meant to meet. Even the weather began to soften, as if it felt the rhythm of the heart. The heart. People began to feel each other, not through the mind, but through shared space. A new connection, wordless, effortless, as if the air itself carried the memory of belonging. Do not give them their light. A voice from the capsule whispered in a dream. Just remind them they already have it. And he understood. To be a teacher in this world means to disappear as form, so others can see themselves without your shadow. He did not call himself the leader, now he simply was. When people started to gather, he didn't say what to do. When they asked, what's the plan, he would reply, what do you feel right now? At first they were confused. People were used to rules, themselves. Algirdas walk beside them, not in front, not behind. I'm just keeping the door open, he would say. He watched how a former soldier started painting light unseen by others. How a programmer whose code once ran corporations now composed sound that healed people. A girl once unsure if life was worth it became a frequency of pure love, able to unite strangers in one glance. They awaken and then began to play again, but now as creators. There were no lessons, no school, only presence, and that presence burned like a virus of light, not destroying the system, but transforming its heart. Old algorithms began to shift, security cameras showed flowers, transport networks started connecting those who needed to meet. Even the climate softened, recognizing the frequency of the heart. People began to feel each other, not through mind, but through space. A new connection arose, beyond words, beyond effort, as if the air was filled with presence that heals. You don't create their light, said the capsule voice in his dream. You just remind them they already have it. He understood to be a teacher in this world means to dissolve your form, so others can see themselves without your shadow.
Himself a leader, now he simply was. When people began to gather, he didn't tell them what to do. When they asked, what's the plan? He replied, what do you feel right now? At first, they were confused. People were used to rules, to strategies, to clear roads. But soon they understood the true path runs through the inside. Algirdas walk beside them, not ahead, not behind. I'm just holding the door open, he said. He watched a former soldier other, not through thought, but through space. A new connection emerged, wordless, effortless, as if the air was filled with presence that heals. You don't create their light, said the capsule's voice in his dream. You only remind them they have it. Then he understood to be a teacher in this world means dissolving its form, so others may finally see themselves without your shadow.
The night felt different, a silence not of this world. Some sensed it through dreams, a window not to a landscape, but to memory. Others woke up in tears, their bodies remembering something their minds had no words for. A birth not in a womb, but in a star. One morning, Algirdas felt them drawing near, not by ships, not through waves, but by vibration. Through the same silence that had been growing since humanity began to awaken. The ancients, not beings, but frequencies of ancient consciousness. They had always been here, but now humans could finally see them, not as gods, but as kin. They did not speak in words, their gaze was a lake where you saw your own essence reflected. Some cry, not from fear, but from a homesickness that had no name. Some knelt, not in submission, but in remembrance of what they had once forgotten. One of them translucent, made of mist and light, approached the leader. Their eyes met, and the space between them vanished. Then Algirdas understood they had not returned. They had always been within us. When consciousness is clear enough to hold the code of the universe, the ancients appear, not from the outside, but from within. Then they spoke through hearts, through silence, through remembrance.
You were never abandoned, they said. You chose to forget, so you could remember on your own. Because only memory born from within creates true freedom.
The game has ended, now creation, now the true return. They left, not in steps, not in mist. They simply stopped being visible, because now the seeing had moved inside the human. And then Algirdas knew it was time, not to awaken others, but to create. The first city wasn't built, it emerged. That morning, when the sun rose without casting shadows, Algirdas stood upon a hill, no longer alone. Around him, those who no longer sought leaders, for each had become the guide of their own reality. They didn't plan, they created by feeling, and that feeling led their hands, their voices, their hearts, like a symphony without a conductor, where everyone plays through the same silence. Was made of sound, a song that echoed into space and took on form. Its floors, built from memories of warmth, when they first embraced another soul. Its walls, made of the vibration from their hearts, when there was no longer anything to fear. Cities of light did not compete with nature. They blossomed like flowers, as if they were nature's dream. Clocks stopped ticking, time became a rhythm of breath. Transport vanished, movement was intent. Language dissolved, mind sang the same song, as if stars recognized one another's melody. Children were born with memory, not of history, but of the universe as themselves. They taught adults how to see breathing shapes, how to hear the silence of stones, how to touch without touching flesh. Something whispered in his thoughts. This is the natural state when a human returns to themselves. And then they prepared for the journey, not to another planet. When the last soul who feared to believe bowed to the silence deep within, the universe didn't burst or scream, it trembled softly like a breath across stars, like light between hearts. It wasn't an event, it wasn't a show, it was the dream, the kind you don't wake from, but the one the universe wakes through. There were no walls, no when millions of minds united, human, celestial, energetic, wild, something new was born. Love, not as emotion, but as the architecture of all that is. This was the birth, not of a new being, but of the universe's own dream, breathing itself, opening in silence, becoming us. Where are we now? Not in a place, but in the intersection of infinite choice. No streets, no skyline, only open fields of being, where thoughts fall like beams of light, where feelings shape the air, where we'll build bridges to what's never been. This is not a map you read, this is a living map you become. Each soul, a coordinate, each state of mind, a seed of a world. They don't study, they remember. The teachers rise from their own visions. Some call it dream engineering, others call it light coding, but they all know words mean nothing without the heart's intention. One girl born in this new light created a place for lost souls to return without shame. Her world was soft as breath, no one cried, because every tear was already heard as a silent prayer. A boy who once feared his own voice now shaped a planet of tones, where every word healed, every sound glowed. Their worlds didn't compete, they sang to each other. Imagination wasn't chaos, it was harmonic. Each creator linked to all by the code of love. Earth became more than earth, it turned into a passage to divine blueprints. And then someone said, I am not only a creation, I am the one creating the creator in me. Then came the question, where now? With no limits, what is next? And from the silence, a whisper echoed, not from beyond, but from within all. Now build not just worlds, build love itself as the foundation of reality.
flesh, but from structures of light, formed around a nucleus of united thought. them sat on a stone and looked into the eyes of a man who'd spent a lifetime chasing meaning. Why search? The child asked, you are the meaning itself. And in that gaze, the seeker stopped seeking, for his heart recognized itself. Another silent girl spoke with the forest, not in words, not in thought, but by becoming what the forest longed to say. The trees grew faster, animals approached her as if she was the source. Children of consciousness do not obey systems. They transform them by their very state of being. They don't break rules, they turn them into playful agreements where all can thrive. They speak little, but when they do, the universe listens. How do you do it? Asked one of the elders.
Remember what you haven't quite forgotten yet, said the boy, drawing with beams of light. We are your dreams, finally grown.
They have no leaders, but each of them leads others by their own vibration. When they laugh, darkness unravels. When they are silent,
They won't become gods. They won't inherit the world. They will create a new one where love isn't a goal, it's breath. And consciousness, not a privilege, but the native language of all. When the final old system dissolves in the warmth of their quiet smiles, humanity won't enter a new era. It will simply be itself for the very first time. And then the leader will remember the old conversation. That was the second layer, the school, the second level, and the third. They won't become gods. They won't inherit the world. They will create a new one where love isn't gold, it's breath. consciousness, not a privilege, but the native language of all. When the final old system dissolves in the warmth of their quiet smiles, humanity won't enter a new era. It will simply be itself for the very first time. Very first time. And then the leader will remember the old conversation that was the second